Is this a good fit for Chelsea and maybe more significantly this morning for Sterling?
Well, I think he's a terrific player who is a good fit for nearly every team, really, because he adds goals, he adds pace.
Not City any longer. No longer a good fit for City.
I find it strange unless there's a demand for silly finances that he's not staying. Because, in fact, I found it strange towards the end of the season, especially the last few months, where he wasn't used as much as I thought he should have been. Because
isn't that the driver?
Well,
isn't that the driver, really?
Yeah.
But
he's not getting enough games.
No, but
that's it, Danny.
For him. For him.
He's doing better for country than club.
Yeah, but if you look at his last 5 years at City, generally been phenomenal goals output. He's had success, obviously domestically, lots of it, and he's been a major part of that. There was a spell for a couple of years where Pep wouldn't leave him out. The question is always the same when you're asking if a player would be a good fit at another team. Is his quality better than what they already have? Yes. Would I have Sterling ahead of Pulisic? Yes. Would I have Pulisic ahead of Havertz? Yes. Who else do they play in wide areas? I'm trying to think now who else they've got. Hudson-Odoi. Yeah, I'd have Sterling ahead of him. So
Ziyech.
I'd have him ahead of Ziyech.
I mean, this is the time to get him, isn't it? He's got mileage in him yet. He's 27.
It's unbelievable. I think for Chelsea it would be a super signing, but it's like anything. It's balancing the squad. You can't have that many players sitting around doing nothing, earning stupid amounts of money and being unhappy and causing a problem for Tuchel. So I would imagine there'll be a little bit of
Simon's right. He's not getting in the team.
But he'll go to Chelsea.
It makes sense.
He'll try to go. I mean, the bottom line is to go to your narrative about Sterling. In the last 2 years, he hasn't been given that many games for Manchester City, because going into the European Championships last year, there was an argument about his club form, the amount of times he was being played, and why he was being patronised for the England team. Yeah. He had a decent European Championship, so that argument went away. This season, he's played 23, I think, out of the 38 Premier League games, and there's been an argument that he's actually not played in some of the bigger games. Now, there, of course, will be big games that people can point to that he has played in. He's at a point now where he wants an unequivocal understanding that he's going to play a significant amount of games. So he'll go to Chelsea, or not with that Chelsea, with that particular thing in mind. And I don't think any manager of a significant level is going to say to him, well, we're going to guarantee you're going to play 38 games if you're available. No, but so he puts himself in a position.
I don't think you get that conversation anymore where managers say, look, you're going to play every game. But I think what you could get is a manager who says, look, if you come here in the big games that you're going to be... You'll
give yourself an opportunity to be featured.
You're in my best 11 as we stand.
Yeah,
and I can't give you any more than that. That I think he'd take. I am surprised that some of the, and Simon's right, there was some big games he got left out of. Because I think if you look at City's attacking threat now, they've got wonderful talent, we know that. Would you have Grealish ahead of Sterling? I wouldn't. I'm a big fan of Grealish, but I think Sterling's better. I'd have Sterling ahead of Mahrez, although Mahrez is, again, another terrific player, but I'd still rely on Sterling week in, week out.
So all adds up to good business.
Would you have Sterling in front of Mahrez?
Just about, yeah. Only because I think you get more defensively out of Sterling. Mahrez is a super... This ain't a slam
sublime
on him.
talent.
Yeah.
Huh? He's a sublime talent.
It's good business for City, Simon, isn't it?
I'm not saying Mahrez ain't a super talent, but I would have... If you're in a big game, I'd have Sterling ahead of him. I would be happy having Mahrez in my team more. I love watching him play.
50-60 million, good business, isn't it, for City?
Decent business.
But if you're asking me, as Pep Guardiola now, looking at his options in wide areas, does Sterling get in my best 11? He does for me, but he doesn't for Pep.
Yeah.
So they will. It looks like they'll let him go. But if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be more than happy having Sterling come.
Yeah. Sammy, what does it tell us about the new guy, Todd Bewley? We want him on the show. We've been pushing Chelsea for it, but Bewley's going to do stuff for their in-house channel, and then they'll start lending him out to people like ourselves. Bewley's saying, look, if you look at models that are very successful, Liverpool's a great model. Liverpool generates a couple of 100 million more revenue than Chelsea, and they generate earnings. So there's an opportunity to compete.
But that's not true.
What's not true?
Well, the statement's not true, because they don't generate a couple of 100 million more than Chelsea. They generate, in the last couple of seasons, about 75 million more than Chelsea. So that, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, he talks about Liverpool because it's an American ownership. They're now an American ownership model. He talks about financial fair play in a way that I think is probably right, but I do think I'm beginning to change my thinking about financial fair play. I'm beginning to look at progressive taxation as a solution to the way clubs spend, i.e. start to tax them more on how much they spend, i.e. paying bigger levies. If you want to spend 0 to 30 million, pay the 3% levy that you pay. If you want to spend 30 to 60 million, pay 10% levy, and start to fund football slightly differently through a taxation model, progressive taxation, rather than stopping investment. But listen, it's an interesting one. Yeah. I wouldn't be very particularly happy if I'm a Chelsea supporter listening to a new Chelsea owner coming in saying that Liverpool's a model that we want to follow. Because Liverpool have funded a large proportion of their growth. They've sold a significant proportion of their business to a venture capital business that's taken media rights away from them. And they've sold players like Coutinho to fund their purchases. Who are you going to do that through then?
Yeah, but Liverpool are mega successful. That's what Bewley's saying.
Well, hold
Hats
on.
off to them.
Hold on.
We want to be like that.
Hold on. You just made an example that they've won. There's more trophies being won by Chelsea than any other football club.
Yeah, but he's talking.
So that's successful.
Simon, when Bewley was talking, he was talking about Bloomberg. He's talking about. This is a financial conversation.
He's talking about finances.
Yeah.
Right. So with that in mind, what he's starting the conversation with is that we will be potentially attacking the landscape of how football is run along the lines of Liverpool.
Correct.
But Liverpool have been very fortuitous at times to have sold players for big money to fund some of their growth. I made the argument last week, I'm not going to go against it, that they have run a model of a net spend which is far better than everyone else's.
Yeah.
But Chelsea ain't Liverpool. Chelsea's not Liverpool. Liverpool is a bigger football club than Chelsea. Has a different set of livery, a different worldwide base. They're not a newbie. They're not new money. They're old money. Yeah. Liverpool, so they have a different kind of heritage and feel than Chelsea does.
Maybe it just means that the way they conduct their transfers and improve players and don't always try and go for the finished article.
Well, we'll ask him what he means when he does eventually join us. Simon, it'll be a good conversation, I can assure you.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.